The hosts of Fact or Fiction, a struggling cable access show, decide to venture off into the Pine Barrens of New Jersey, accompanied by a paranormal sound recordist and an alleged psychic, to broadcast their search for the Jersey Devil. Only one of them makes it out alive. Soon thereafter, the shocking footage of their last broadcast is discovered. The Last Broadcast is a movie that was ahead of its time in more ways than one. For instance, it was the first film to be screened digitally, using what was at the time cutting-edge technology. Nowadays, when you watch a movie at the local multiplex, it's a digital presentation. Reportedly, 90% of theaters today are entirely digital. Back in the late 90s, it was a completely different story. So just for the Last Broadcast to be screened in theaters took a gargantuan effort. Using technologies that back then were in their infancy, today, they're the norm. I also think the movie was ahead of its time considering that the Fact or Fiction crew were going to broadcast their venture live, a live stream or an IRL stream, both of which were unheard of back in the late 90s. Chances are, if you've heard anyone talking about the Last Broadcast, I'm willing to bet that within the first 5 seconds of that discussion, that the Blair Witch Project was also mentioned. The Last Broadcast actually predates the Blair Witch Project by 1 year. They're similar in a lot of ways, but the Last Broadcast got buried by the pop culture juggernaut that the Blair Witch Project turned into. And while I think the Blair Witch Project is the better film, there's still a lot to like about the Last Broadcast. Instead of a straightforward found footage movie, the Last Broadcast is also a murder mystery, which I find to be quite gripping. The Last Broadcast is narrated by David Lee, an investigative reporter with a special interest in the Fact or Fiction case. Mr. Lee interviews friends and associates of the Fact or Fiction crew, professionals in the field of film editing, and police and other local officials who were involved in the case. We also get plenty of footage of the Fact or Fiction hosts, Stephen and Locust, as they prepare for their journey into the Pine Barrens, as well as the subsequent investigation, trial, and conviction of the only survivor, Jim Seward. Eventually, raw footage of that fateful night in the Pine Barrens turns up, reportedly revealing what really happened. Did Jim kill the 3 men? Was it the Jersey Devil? Or was there something far more sinister afoot? The Last Broadcast is a little rough around the edges and unpolished, but in a good way. A way that gives the proceedings an air of authenticity. Instead of giving non-actors scripted dialogue for their interviews, co-writers, co-directors, and co-stars, Stefan Avalos and Lance Weiler, provided the cast with character outlines and allowed them to improvise the rest. No one in the film comes off as an actor acting like they're not acting, but as professionals, some of whom are more comfortable in front of the camera than others. We're treated to all the now typical trappings of a found footage movie. However, the narration and the murder mystery elements give the Last Broadcast this in search of kind of aesthetic. The murder mystery elements are handled quite well, creating significant suspense and some chilling moments. Even now, after having seen the film multiple times, I still find myself drawn into the mystery and feeling a sense of unease as we round the corner toward the inevitable reveal. The movie also benefits from having a lo-fi kind of score, made up of digital noise, low hums, and disembodied voices. The movie swerves us in the last act, transitioning from a found footage documentary style to a narrative style. It comes out of nowhere, will definitely leave you scratching your head upon first viewing, and unfortunately concludes things on a confusing and underwhelming note. Still, I've always enjoyed The Last Broadcast, going all the way back to the first time I rented the film on VHS, many moons ago. It's not just an authentic feeling found footage movie, but a gripping murder mystery as well. The movie is all the more impressive when you discover that it was made for the paltry sum of $900 using consumer-grade equipment on free locations and with the assistance of family and friends. If you haven't seen The Last Broadcast, I highly recommend it. And kudos to 101 Films for making The Last Broadcast Blu-ray debut such an impressive one, courtesy of this beautiful new limited edition release. Both the picture quality and the sound quality are major upgrades from the old DVD release, obviously. But it's a major improvement, considering that the film was shot on video and looked a little rough at times. That roughness has been smoothed over quite nicely here. This is the best The Last Broadcast has ever looked or sounded. I'd give both the picture quality and the sound quality on this release a solid 4.5 out of 5. Now, the back of this release notes that it is Region B locked. However, I had no issues playing it on my Region A Blu-ray player. Also, 101 Films website notes that this is a region-free release, so don't be discouraged if you see a Region B certification on the back. It is region-free. As far as presentation is concerned, everything comes inside this sleeve, which features new artwork by Stephen R. Bissett. The back of the release features the plot synopsis, the list of new and old special features, the credits, technical specs, and so on. Again, overlook that Region B certification. This is a region-free release. Here is the case. Here is the Blu-ray. On the reverse of the sleeve, we have this artwork. And we get a limited edition booklet featuring essays by Philip Escott and Sarah Appleton. As far as extras are concerned, first up we have a new broadcast, which features interviews with co-directors Stefan Avalos and Lance Weiler. It's 31 minutes and 5 seconds in length. The two discuss the genesis of the last broadcast and what inspired them. They discuss how the mission was to make a movie for no money with available equipment, free locations, and the assistance of family members. They discuss outlining and improvising the obstacles of editing the movie back when hard drives cost $1,000 per gigabyte. Can you imagine that? Hard drives back in the late 90s cost $1,000 per gig. They discuss the last broadcast's legacy and much more. Next, we have behind-the-scenes production, in which Lance Weiler and Stefan Avalos discuss the production process behind the last broadcast. It's 7 minutes and 29 seconds in length. Next, we have behind-the-scenes post-production, in which Lance and Stefan discuss the post-production process, editing, effects, etc. It's 4 minutes and 28 seconds in length. Next, we have behind-the-scenes distribution, in which Lance and Stefan discuss the obstacles of getting the film onto the big screen using what was then state-of-the-art technology, digital projection, and keeping the film digital when interested distributors wanted the film but wanted it first transferred to 35mm, and how the last broadcast became the first film distributed entirely digitally. It is 6 minutes and 11 seconds in length. We get 15 minutes and 27 seconds of raw footage from the interview segment showing how they orchestrated the interviews in the film. We get 15 minutes and 2 seconds of clips from the Fact or Fiction show. Next, we have Jim Seward alive and well performing 2 folk songs. It's 6 minutes and 20 seconds in length, and it's just that. The guy in the film who played Jim, whose real name is Jim, performs 2 folk songs of his, and I liked them both. Next, we get Locus, What Really Happened. It's 5 minutes and 17 seconds in length. It is the lost epilogue to the last broadcast. We get a gallery of gore, the trailer, and 2 commentaries, a 1999 commentary with Lance Weiler and Stefan Avalos, and a 2006 commentary with Lance Weiler and Stefan Avalos. This is a beautiful release for the last broadcast from the fine folks over at 101 Films. Both the picture quality and the sound quality are fantastic. We get a lot of new and old extras, and it all comes inside this limited edition packaging. If you are a fan of the last broadcast, then this release is a must own. And again, if you've not seen the last broadcast, I highly recommend it. This release would be a great way to introduce yourself to the film. If you've seen the last broadcast, please let me know your thoughts on the film down in the comments section below. And while you're down there, let me know what some of your favorite found footage movies are. If you like this video, please leave it a thumbs up and share it on social media. If you're not following me on social media, those links are in the description. As always, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Take care, and until next time, peace. A huge shout out to all my patrons and channel members. I greatly appreciate your generosity and support of my channel. Become a patron today and get early access to videos, have a say in what movies I review, and join me for patron-only live streams. Become a channel member today and get access to exclusive badges and emotes to use when I stream. Those links are in the description. Say hello to the internet, Jeremy.
Hello to the internet.